afternoon and thanks for joining us. I'm Judy Simpson. Fire can strike anywhere, our homes, farms, or outdoors. This is Fire Prevention Week, which means it's an excellent time to go over some simple reminders to ensure that our families, homes, and possessions are safe from fire. Some interesting history. Fire Prevention Week was established to commemorate the Great Chicago Fire of 1871. It killed more than 250 people, left 100,000 homeless, and destroyed nearly 20,000 homes and businesses. While the Great Chicago Fire is the most talked about and remembered, it is not the biggest. That distinction goes to the Peshtigo Fire in Wisconsin. It started on the same day as the Chicago Fire and resulted in the most devastating forest fire in American history. Those who survived the 1871 fires said they'd never forget what they'd been through, and in the aftermath, significant changes were made regarding fire safety. To discuss fire safety and emphasize the checks that you should make during Fire Prevention Week, I'm joined by two guests. George Cook is the Farm Safety Specialist with the UVM Extension, and Michael DeRocher is the Director of the Vermont Division of Fire Safety. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Now, I know Fire Prevention Week is the longest-running public health and safety observance on record, but until I began preparing for this particular program, I confess I had never heard of the Peshtigo, Wisconsin fire.
Well, the Peshtigo, Wisconsin fire is actually known as kind of the forgotten fire. Yes, it happened the same day as the Great Chicago Fire, October 8th. 1871, and it burned down 16 towns.
Wow.
It killed over 2,400 people and scorched about 1.25 million acres of forest and farmland in northeastern Wisconsin. Historical accounts say that the fire began during the time of an extreme drought, an extended drought. There were many nearby forest fires going on. There was a huge low-pressure system over the Midwest at the time, and that was bringing on very strong winds. So some survivors of the fire indicated that railroad workers were working to clear land for new rails and so forth, may have unintentionally started a brush fire. And when you take a look at the low pressure system, the high winds, the brush fire fanned the storm and whipped the flames through the area, much like a tornado. And it creates its own firestorm. And there was literally no escape. It was coming through, and people headed for the river, but half the population of Peshtigo was lost during that hour and a half that the fire moved through town and kept going eastward.
Oh my goodness.
So it was just an amazing fire, and something that goes down in history as the largest forest fire. Much larger than Chicago, but Chicago fire has always gotten the claim to fame.
Well, it's sad, but it's important history because it led to the Fire Prevention Week. And Michael, tell us a little bit about what's happening in Vermont during the week.
Well, during Fire Prevention Week, most fire departments are hosting special fire prevention events. We encourage all families to participate in these events, and we would also encourage people to contact the local fire department if you're not sure what events are being held, and also to learn more about fire safety. This is a very important time for the fire departments to get out with their community and teach youngsters about fire safety.
And Michael, I know you brought along a video to share with us, and tell us a little bit about this. It tells us a little bit about this year's theme, and it features a special guest, Sparky the fire dog.
Oh, hey! Just installed a new smoke alarm here, because the old one turned 10 years old. Did you know smoke alarms don't last forever? It's true. Smoke alarms have a life limit. So how do you figure out how old your smoke alarm is? Take a look at the back or side of your smoke alarm, where you'll find the date of manufacture. You need to replace your smoke alarm 10 years from that date. Pretty doggone simple and easy, am I right? To learn more about smoke alarms and this year's Fire Prevention Week campaign, don't wait, check the date. Replace smoke alarms every 10 years. Visit firepreventionweek.org.
Well, I did not know that smoke detectors had an expiration date.
Yes, just like milk, they have an expiration date, and they're effective for 10 years. And today there are those that have 10-year batteries. Most of us remember and are using the 9-volt batteries.
Right.
Annually, we have to change that. And to remember that, what we need to do is to mark on the back of each one of our smoke alarms when we bought it, when it's time to replace that.
Mm-hmm. And so, Mike, this is very important for life saving.
Correct. Time and time again, we see the impact of life saving that these smoke alarms play a very important role in fire safety. The majority of our fire investigations, where we have fatalities, we find that there's inoperable smoke detectors or missing smoke alarms. Working smoke alarms absolutely save lives. It reduces the risk of dying in a fire by 50%. And we need working smoke alarms and carbon monoxide alarms in every home to provide early warning so that family members can get out. Firefighters during Fire Prevention Week put an emphasis on ensuring that smoke alarms and carbon monoxide alarms are installed in homes. We also encourage people to install them on every floor level in the immediate vicinity of the sleeping rooms to alert people so they can get out. A lot of people don't understand that fire spreads very rapidly in a home. Minutes count. So we are certainly well aware that smoke alarms play a very important part of getting people out safely.
Now, George, are there other tips that you have regarding alarms?
Sure. I think one thing, if you have a larger home, recognize that you probably are going to need more than the minimum that we talk about or might be on instructions, and make sure that you are well protected, as Mike says, in the bedrooms, outside the sleeping areas, on every floor, etc. I'd like to share also that, there are alarm systems. It takes a little different system, but there are alarm systems available for barn and other outbuildings on the farm. Mm-hmm. And our encouragement is to have a system set up so that you're alerted inside the home, because many times these fires will start at night, and you need to be able to be alerted quickly to best take care of the problem. If you're putting up alarms, be sure to be careful where you put them. Avoid the kitchen, toaster, and stovetop can cause nuisance alarms. The bathroom, the steam from a shower and so forth can cause nuisance alarms again. Test those smoke alarms once a month by pushing that button. And this is something the kids can help with, obviously, depending on where they are. Now, I say the kids can help. We're going to have them up high, so maybe that was ill-stated, but get them into the habit of helping go around and checking them all out. Follow your manufacturer's instructions as far as cleaning them. Just a good vacuum is many times all it takes. And if you have someone in the home that needs extra assistance, work with them, help them understand what is happening. Everyone needs to know what to do and how to react appropriately when that smoke alarm goes off. And it's always good to ask for help. And this, I think, especially of our elders. Many of us have, parents that are perhaps in need of our help. They've helped us for years, and now it's our turn to help them.
Now, Michael, I understand the state has some specific requirements for smoke alarms.
Yes, we do. Over the years, technology has changed in smoke alarms. The state of Vermont now has laws in place that require any new smoke detectors to be of the photoelectric type. In single-family homes, when you go to sell your home or transfer ownership, it's actually required that there's a certification form filled out and presented at closing, validating that your home is provided with a photoelectric smoke alarms. Public buildings and rental properties have the standards are a little bit different. But overall, we are requiring photoelectric smoke alarms to be installed in all homes. We also have a recent code change that will be effective October 10th, which is actually, the timing's pretty good, Fire Prevention Week. But we are now allowing the 10-year tamper-resistant lithium-powered smoke alarms to be installed in sleeping rooms in buildings that were constructed before 1995. So with that said, we're going to get thousands of sleeping rooms protected with good smoke detection at a very low price versus having to hardwire them into the electrical system. So we're optimistic that over the next year we will have thousands of sleeping rooms protected, increasing the chance that somebody will escape the house should a fire break out.
What about carbon monoxide alarms?
Well, that's a good question, too. Carbon monoxide is a serious issue, not just here in Vermont, but across the country. As you know, carbon monoxide is called the silent killer. It is called the silent killer because carbon monoxide is a colorless, odorless, toxic gas, and it can only be detected by CO alarms or special metering devices. And recently, the state of Vermont has partnered with the state of New Hampshire's Fire Marshal Office and Dartmouth-Hitchcock Medical Center to form a new CO alliance. And this CO alliance was created to bring in awareness to people about the critical issues around carbon monoxide, and also to try to find out what we can do to prevent this from even being produced in the heating appliances. So we're also working in partnership with industry professionals as well. So that's some exciting stuff that we're working on with carbon monoxide. Some other very important safety tips about carbon monoxide is you want to make sure that you have your heating system inspected by a qualified person every year. And you also want to make sure that your vent system, where you're exhausting your flue gases, is kept free of snow and ice and so forth, so that your products of combustion can safely be vented outside. So those are some very key points. We frequently get asked, well, where do we put carbon monoxide alarms? Carbon monoxide alarms should be installed in the same place you find smoke detectors. And very important to install CO alarms in sleeping rooms where you have a heating appliance. So there's plenty of carbon monoxide information on our webpage at firesafety.vermont.gov. If you want additional information.
Now, George, you have a couple of minutes left. I know you want to talk about fire safety on the farm.
Yes, while not frequent, barn fires, farm fires are very devastating. You have huge losses, livestock, buildings, the livelihood of everyone working there on the farm, and many times it's an outside ignition source that starts fires. In barns, it may be burning brush and the embers blow.
Right.
It could be working with a tractor nearby or in the barn, moving hay and sparks thrown. And barn fires are tragic. They take a long time to put out, and it pretty much always destroys the whole structure.
And what other fire safety issues do we need to pay attention to this time of year?
Well, autumn certainly is the beginning of the heating season. We talked about that earlier, and I think the key thing is make sure your equipment is ready, up to date, set for the heating season. Make sure that chimney is cleaned, as Mike mentioned, and if you're not familiar with how to do that or have the safety equipment, get it done by a professional.
Always a good idea rather than climbing up on the roof yourself.
Oh, yes.
All right. Well, I want to thank you both so much for joining us today and giving us some important information and making sure that people have this on their radar as something to look into on our way into winter.
Thank you.
That's our program for today. I'm Judy Simpson. I'll see you again next time on Across the Fence.